right, give us your report then for the manager.
A couple of things. Some of that affects the financial report. I think I had mentioned that we had submitted documentation to FEMA regarding the snow event that happened back in February. We were notified earlier this month that I believe it was $40,000 that we were able to get back. FEMA paid 75% of that. In this case, FEMA sometimes will pay the difference, but we were told at the meetings that they were not going to do that. So 75% of it gave us a total of $30,458.40. A portion of that money that was reimbursed back to the township came from the liquid fuels account. And in crediting the money back, that's why on the financial report you see a negative next to the liquid fuels fund, because we actually got back from FEMA $12,187.14. So when you credit that back to the liquid fuels based on the money we paid out during the month of November, that's why you see the negative, because we actually made money on that particular account. The same thing in the general fund, because when we took the difference and we applied it back to the general fund, it basically was $18,271.26. And that's why the general fund is lower than the amount of money that we spent on the first 2 months, because we applied back to the particular accounts that the money was we received from FEMA. Regarding, I think Ken mentioned something about T-Mobile tomorrow night, and the Veteran Road Agreement. I received a response back from Trapper. For some reason, they want to meet with myself and Ken and Bill, because they would like to pursue a maintenance agreement regarding Veteran Road. So I have a meeting that's set up for later this month, and let's see why they want to have that agreement, because I'm not sure why.
I thought, well, now I'm confused. I thought they were working on it already. It was
We
the
were
draft document.
We were working on it, but then the question become why, because they're the ones that pushed it, because we voided out the original agreement. And they came back and said, we really want to have this agreement. So in discussions with Ken Picardi and with Bill Patterson, as to the way we presently maintain it, because it's got to do with snow removal, not actually repaving the road, because that would have to be a different kind of agreement. But the question became, since we've been doing it this way for so many years, what is the issue of having an agreement? So we need to find out why they feel we should have the agreement, since it's sort of been a gentleman's understanding.
But didn't I see something in writing that we gave to them to look at?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they came back and made changes, and we don't understand some of the changes they made. So the question then became the discussion, do we really need one, an agreement?
That's a good question.
So since
As
they're,
long as I'll say the same thing I said before, as long as it's on one sheet of paper, both sides, and no more.
That's not gonna happen.
We can't keep it simple, right? We need at least 10 pages, both sides.
2 lawyers involved, are you kidding?
there may be reasons why they want it, but at this point, we're not really sure.
Okay. Moving right along, sorry about that.
Obviously, the biggest issue is the budget, which was authorized to be advertised at the last meeting. You have 2 resolutions that are before you for consideration. The first resolution is the taxing levy for the year 2011. As I indicated at last month's meeting, in going through the budget, it's for all of the funds, obviously the general fund would be the largest of all the funds, are proposing that there be no tax increase for the general fund, for the streetlight fund, for the hydrant tax, and for the fire tax. The streetlight fund at this point, which is the most, as everybody knows, the caps come off on the electric. And I feel that although I don't know the effect that it's going to have on these streetlights counts, I think we have like 6 or 7 of them, maybe more than that. Those are a set rate. It doesn't matter whether the light's on 24 hours, the light's on. It's basically based upon the kind of light we have. I think we have enough money in the reserves to see what kind of an impact taking the caps are gonna have off the streetlights, because we don't own the streetlights, PICO owns the streetlights. Because I'm hearing different, 5%, 6%, 7%. And at this point, since we have enough money in the reserve, I believe to carry us through the year 2011, let's see what kind of an impact the rates are gonna have and what PICO's gonna set those streetlights at before we go and charge these residents for the streetlights. Because then it will be based on what we're actually being charged us by PICO. So we're looking at the streetlight budget. I felt that we could get away during 2011, keeping the rate in streetlight funds the same and not having to raise them during the 2011. Now, that doesn't say that 2012, we may not have to revisit and see what impact the rates have on those funds. As far as the hydrant is concerned, I again would say not to raise those for Pennsylvania American and for the Aqua, for the hydrants we have in the system. It gets a little tight in March because of that before the tax bill. But we've been able to, as you know, a couple of years ago, we raised the fees for the hydrants for those districts. But we've been able to on cash flow sweep by, and we haven't had to go back to the general fund. So again, I'd say we've managed to survive in terms of paying Aqua for the hydrants in the Aqua system and for Pennsylvania American for the hydrants in the Pennsylvania American system. And I'd say unless they go to the PUC to get a rate increase, which I'm not aware of, I'd say we keep them the way that we are. Same thing with the general fund. As I indicated last month, yes, we've been impacted because of the drop in the real estate market. We've been impacted by people going, and you're right, Dean, to a certain extent, we are somewhat fortunate, because although people are going to getting their assessed values dropped for their houses, we're not being impacted by some of these commercial entities that have high assessments and getting them dropped. So to that extent, we've been fortunate. What I did though is I did drop the real estate transfer tax again. I don't anticipate next year that we're going to probably do any better next year than we did this year. But even with keeping with that, I still think that we can survive next year, 2011, with a tight budget, without having to raise the taxes. The same thing goes with the fire tax as well. As a matter of fact, I think based on looking at the financial reports today, was going through them, we may actually end this year, at the end of this year, with a surplus. Not much, but surplus. And I think next year, again, I think if things get better and maybe we get lucky, we did not, one of the things in the budget I proposed is not to put any money in the depreciation account, but if things get better, I didn't think we would be able to do it this year. We would be able to actually throw in about $200,000 into the capital reserve account. And we will get lucky next year to be able to do the same thing. But at this point, I'm not proposing that. So what you have in 2011 is the tax levy for the year for Perkins Township, for the general fund, for the fire tax, all the streetlight tax, and for the fire tax. And for the general fund, which is 2010-11, and for 2010-12, it's a consideration by the board to adopting the budget. Actually, if you take a look at the general fund, that's actually lower than this year's budget, not by much, but it is lower. And also in that number, we also are incorporating the bridge, the Gotcha Road Bridge. I've been able to work the numbers so that incorporates the work that's to be done for Gotcha Road, the bridge, as well as the portion of Gotcha Road, Sites Road, the portion of Sites Road that we did not do this year that we're going to flip over into 2011. For the liquid fuels, and the reason why, actually it's like a 1% difference, and the reason why the overall expenditures goes up by 1% is because the liquid fuels account If you recall, in this year's budget, we were supposed to do some roads out of liquid fuels, but because we did not do that, we're gonna carry it over into 2011. And one of those was the Coma Lane, and the other one, which we decided not to do, which is Burgess, but instead of doing Burgess, we're gonna pick up Main Road Road. And right now, those monies are scheduled to come out of the liquid fuels. That's it.
So let's take them one at a time. We have before us, resolution 2010-11. What's the board's pleasure?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2010-11, the tax levy resolution.
I'll second it.
Any further comments on it, questions?
I think
All in
the-
favor?
I think the squirrels, I'm sorry, aye. I think the squirrels in the woods could take a lesson from Cecile Daniel on how to squirrel away their
Yeah.
reserves.
And we have, resolution 2010-12, the Perkiomen Township 2011 budget.
I'll make that motion that we approve 2010-12, the 2011 budget.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then I guess we might as well take the meeting schedule. And